Hello friends, neighbors, John Lewis neighbor here. Welcome down the Nook and welcome to, I think, the last for now of this 18-year-old Scotch run. And what I'm going to bring you today is Kirkland 18-year-old. This, I think, came out maybe 5 years and then it kind of disappeared. And then there was a 19 and a 20 and they went all the way up to a 24 in my market. And now it's a re-release or a new release of the Kirkland 18-year-old. So if you have any 18-year-old Scotch, or some sherried Scotch, or even better, if you got this Kirkland, why don't you pour a dram? Come on back, we'll just share some thoughts. 3, 4. Well, thanks for coming back. As I said, I hope you've got a dram of some sherried Scotch, bit of Speyside. You know, this Kirkland does say it's out of Aberdeen. It is Alexander Murray and Company, but what it is always a mystery. Lots of people, oh, it's Thumb and Tool, oh, it's this, it's that. Could be any of those things. I'm not sure. It does give a little bit of information. It does say it's been aged in ex-bourbon basically for its whole life, except the last 6 months, where it rested in Oloroso sherry, and it's released at 46%. I would love, and it would be very easy to think that this could be non-chill filter, natural color, because we got 46%, and it's 18 years old and certainly would have enough time to pull color out of casks, but I'm afraid it's probably colored. Maybe it's non-chill filtered, but probably it's colored. Let's see, this is the 2023 release, at least that's when it showed up in my market, and the 18 in my area hasn't been around for a long time. As I said, they crept up the ages. Last year I got this 24, I'll talk about that as a comparison, but let's just nose and taste this current release of Kirkland 18-year-old Speyside Scotch sherry cask. Nose. Well, you know, quite a bit of berry, raspberry, tart. So like what would be something that's a bit sour? Like I just had some rhubarb plots and it's kind of like rhubarb and berry and it's got a little bit of that sourness to it. There's a little bit of vanilla in there. There's clearly a lot of bourbon cask influence in the back end, but on the forefront, they've put it in only 6 months, but fairly active sherry cask. Let's give it a try on the palate. Sancha. It's got a good up front. It's sweet. Light cherry, a little more of that tart berry, and there is a little bit of malting, a little bit of cream or cereal malt going on in there as well to hold it up. But there's a little bit of bitterness that comes up pretty quick, and there is a biting nature to it, which is good because it wakes you up. It's got some punch. Sometimes you might think older Scotch is all relaxed. This one's not that relaxed, but it takes a little bit of time to get past the upfront, nice and sweet, and then some malt, and then kind of mid-palate end of that first sip, it's a little biting. Let's give it another shot and see where it goes. Second sip is a little less biting, which is nice, a little less bracing. A little more sweet strawberry coming through. Some of the cask is speaking, some of the, you know, slight old leather, not a lot, but just a little bit of old leather, a little bit of rolled tobacco, and a little bit of that darker cherry musk going on that I get from sherry cask. There's still, I guess I could say a peppering, a black pepper, and I like black pepper, but it still feels a bit sharp. I would say I've been a bit surprised by this one. It's a good Scotch, and for only 6 months in sherry, I feel like those must have been some pretty wet casts because it really does say hello with a lot of berry and red fruit notes, and there is some of that casking on the end. But there's something about it that I expected better from it. I truly did. I ran out and bought this as soon as it landed. I'm like, oh, I've had all of them, but I haven't had the early 18 when it came out. I've had the 19, the 20, 21, all of them up to the 24, and really enjoy all of them. Toss up, I think I do like the 24 the best on that series. We'll talk about it in a second. But now I've had the 18, and while it's good, I had to pay $100 Canadian for it now, and definite value in terms of 18-year-old scotches, but there are definitely some other younger sherry forward scotches that I would go to before this 18-year-old Glendronach classic example. And that's only a 43%er, but oh, the notes on that one. Anyways, is it good? Yeah. And do I regret buying it? No. 18-year-old scotch for $100 these days. It's tough to regret, and it's tasty. And I'm gonna put it at 3 3/4. It's solid, but it just could have been so much more. So as I said in the opener, and I've said a few times here, I wanted to compare this against the 24, mostly because it's the only one I still have on the shelf. But you know, this 24-year-old, about a year ago, I paid exactly the same price. It gives you a sense of where prices are going. I dropped $100 for that 24-year-old, and I paid, you know, $97.99 kind of thing at Costco for this 18-year-old. Now the 24 says right on it, same thing, ex-bourbon up until the last 3 years, so 21 years in ex-bourbon, and then 3 years in Oloroso. So significantly longer time in Oloroso. Also, quite a bit older than the 18-year-old. Again, I'm sure they're colored. If they weren't, you can actually see probably not enough left there, but the 24-year-old is significantly darker than the 18-year-old. I'm looking forward to this. I remember liking it. I haven't had a dram of it for quite some time. See how it's aged on my shelf on the nose. It's far darker, like Bing cherry, ripe cherry, a little bit of nutmeg on the nose, maybe a little bit of walnut. Yeah, darker nose. This isn't bad. I don't mind the nose, but it's light, sweet berries. This is even a little bit of prune or plum, kind of a fuller fruit, darker fruit, and as I said, there's a bit of a nut in here I'm getting it, and a little bit of roast espresso, like a little bit of coffee already. So nose is going better. Let's try the palate. Sláinte. That is so much richer. It's got some of that malt in there as well, but a lot of dark fruit, oak. As I said, I get hints of leather here. I've got all that old bookshelf, a little old cask, some burnt broken oak. You know, like that, not quite musty, almost earthy. There is a little bit of that biting. They do share a little bit of that house style. Here, it's so prominent that it's distracting me, whereas here, it's there, but it just gives it a little bit of backbone. And I would say, if I hadn't done a direct comparison, I would have called it black pepper, a little peppering, a bit of spicing, but it's not up in your face. And some Christmas spices in here. There's nutmeg on the nose, and I get a little bit more layered spice palette on the 24. You know, going into it, I recall liking the 24. Haven't had it in quite some time. It's held up well. I enjoy this. And if this was on the shelf today for $100, I'd have to pause the video and go buy another bottle to replace this, because it would absolutely be worth the $100. It's a 4.25 stars for me. I really enjoy this scotch. Well, I should have put the bottles up here, but I don't want to dig them out. They're in the back closet. But it was fun the last month to walk through some 18-year-old scotches. From that walkthrough, if I were to put them in order here, the Tomatin 18 for me actually stood up quite well. Certainly worth $100 if you can still get it for that. $180, I'm just not buying a lot of scotch in that range, even today. So I'm probably not going to replace that anytime soon. The Bowmore 18, I know there's people out there that have really dumped on Bowmore, and I liked that 18. I thought it was a good scotch, and it would be my next choice. The Auchentoshan 18 was a disappointment. I would drink their 3-wood far more often than that, and that's way less money. They need to consider relaunching that. Maybe it was a classic at one point, but the flavors didn't hold up. You know, this 18-year-old is great. It's probably my second choice. I know I knocked it today, but I did actually, I still enjoy it, and would put it probably slightly above the Bowmore, or somewhere in that range. Of course, Bowmore gives you that little bit of peace. If you're looking for that, that's the only one in the lineup that I did. The blends that I shot against. Oh no, I did Glenfiddich as well. Actually, that was quite tasty, and I would say it would be better than this. Yep, I would. It's around 140 in my market. This is $100. So I guess that Glenfiddich would be my second, and then this, and then Bemore, and the Auchentoshan's way down. Just in this range, just this taste through in the month. I think what was fun is that I managed to get those all on deal, but to say these were good scotches as a whole, but I wouldn't immediately reach for that age to think you're going to get a significantly better scotch. I have many, like I said, the Glendronach 12 to me is a better scotch than this 18-year-old. Like there are other gems out there that are playing in that market now into $100, 80 to 100 Canadian, that I would consider before reaching for 18. Now, your child is turning 18, you want to share a scotch, nothing beats buying them a bottle. You can say, this was laid down in oak the year you came here, and we're going to have some fun together. Thanks for joining me. Share any of your thoughts down below about this Kirkland 18 or about any 18-year-olds that you've had recently. See how it goes. Hope you guys are having a good weekend.